Welcome to Mental Skills straight out of the Hexaflex for sports performance. Out of acceptance commitment therapy, we're talking about the second point that I love on the Hexaflex model. Last time we did diffusion. This time we are doing acceptance. This is one of the most important points for me. I'm going to tell you why and how this is helpful for sports performance. Acceptance is exactly what it sounds like. It's making room for our inner thoughts, our experience, our feelings, the emotions, sensations, impulses, memories, anything else we got going on inside of there. Instead of greeting it with judgment, saying this is bad or this is terrible or I hate this, I don't want it, and trying to push it away, judging ourselves for even having that thought, because God forbid we be a human, and then trying to push it away, like trying to perform, trying to achieve something by pushing it away, making it change. That's not acceptance. Making something change is not accepting it as it is. So we want to greet these thoughts and feelings with acceptance, meaning making room without judging ourselves for it. Yes, it's true that some things can be helpful or not helpful, but we don't really need to make that decision. But we don't really need to make that distinction. And we certainly don't need to say, this is a terrible thought and feeling, because it's not. They're just information. Thoughts and feelings are literally just information about the past, the present, and what we think could happen in the future, which also we have no control over. So, cool. Let me make clear, what we're not doing in acceptance is simply accepting terrible things happening to us and being like, yeah, cool, this can happen. No, of course not. We definitely want to stop our own suffering when we can. When there's things that we can control that are wildly uncomfortable or we are unsafe, we can change those things. We are supposed to move with self-compassion and also according to our values. We'll get to that in another video about the Hexaflex. If you haven't seen that yet, there's loads on my channel though. And when we act in accordance to our values and with self-compassion hand in hand, of course, we're not just going to stay in a situation in which we have no power or we are unsafe or we are not allowed to do what we feel like we are supposed to. It's simply giving us room to experience things that happen in the run of daily life and in sports performance that are difficult, that are uncomfortable, that are no fun whatsoever. And we wish that we weren't going through, but we are. And we can't change that. We don't want to. And we cause ourselves so much pain by holding on to a story, because who knows, maybe your story is you have an uncomfortable sensation at every single race, and that one physical sensation then blows up in your mind to 18 different catastrophes that are definitely going to happen during your race, and that's never once occurred. However, you have anxiety about it every single time, or maybe it has occurred and you feel like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that most likely is the case. However, how do we get back to the first thought and not allow ourselves to have this catastrophe of a story that causes us suffering? That's the point of acceptance, to not go into the story. Just accept it for what it is and allow it to be unhooked in our minds and take it with a grain of salt. So again, acceptance is making room for what is already inside of us, these thoughts and feelings, instead of trying to cancel them out or judging ourselves for them or trying to change them. And the point of this is to drop the struggle so that we can focus on what we have at hand. Like if you're in a performance scenario and you're feeling a ton of competitive anxiety right before a competition, you don't want to be swallowed into the story that you are telling yourselves. You want to be ready to go. You don't want to be distracted. You don't want to be exhausted. You don't want to be stuck in your thoughts. You want to be here and you want to be ready to go. So we want to drop the struggle and make room for that. Let's do a little exercise together. Get a piece of paper. If you really want to do it digitally, I guess you can, but it works way better with a piece of paper. So on this paper, take the example of the last situation that absolutely did not go your way, where your brain and heart were screaming at you. And the voices in your head and what popped up for you, the emotions, the feelings, the memories, any other patterns that popped up, write them all down on this paper. It really doesn't matter what's on this paper. It's just an example. We're not going to do something with it. I want you to extend both of your arms as far as you can, lock them out, and actively hold the paper on the corners, not ripping it. Be careful not to rip it, but holding it as far away from you as you can. That's what we do when we have thoughts and feelings that we don't want to experience and we try to avoid them. All right, ready? Let's go. We're going to set a timer for 1 minute and do it together. Or you are. Spoiler alert, not only is that exhausting, but it's also distracting, and it also keeps my hands filled. So I can't do anything actually for myself. I can't make any change. I can't move towards anything. I can't do anything productive because my hands are, first of all, extended in front of me, far away, holding a piece of paper. What I could also do is take this piece of paper and lay it in my lap, and now my arms are free. It's still here. It's on me, but my arms are free. I could at least do something. I'm not now thinking about how tired my arms are. I'm not now trying to concentrate on holding this away from me. I'm not concentrated on not having this thought or feeling right now. And I'm not exhausted because my arms are extended. I'm just sitting here hanging out. That's acceptance. Cool. So when thoughts and feelings pop up, especially in sports performance, maybe that's taking the example of pre-competition anxiety. It's really important that we follow the following 3 A's. We acknowledge the feeling, whatever it is. And you can say it out loud. I find that to be really helpful, as do my athletes, to say, I'm feeling shame. I am feeling anxiety. I'm feeling potential embarrassment. I'm feeling really, 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 really angry is also totally fine. In that moment, you don't have to change it, and you definitely don't want to judge yourself for it. Just you're stating the fact of what you're feeling, which, by the way, is also the first step in diffusion, which is unhooking from your thoughts. We always want to acknowledge what the thought is. Just say it straight up the way that it is, the fact. Next, you want to give it permission by allowing it to be in there. So you're just repeating the fact again and saying, I feel a lot of anxiety right now. I don't like this feeling. That is just the way that it is, but I'm going to give it room and let it be within inside myself. And the third is accommodation. It's simply adapting to what is already inside of us. It's essentially saying, I know you're there. I know you're going to stay there. I know you're a part of my experience, but you're also not the make or break of my experience. One example I love to use is strange family gatherings where that one really, really strange aunt or uncle who is harmless, but also just weird and tiring to be around and kind of loud and doesn't really follow the whole social thing very well, and also eats all the food all the time. So like what? They show up to your house, they roll in, and they sit themselves on the corner of the couch with a full plate of food. And instead of being irritated with them, instead of constantly looking in their direction and building resentment, and instead of going across the street and fighting with your neighbor, or instead of moving out of your house permanently to a different country, you could also just allow them to sit on the couch and finish eating, and they will go. Because they know they're allowed there. They know that they as well are part of your experience. However, you cause more suffering for yourself when you don't just let it sit there, when you try and do something about it, when you try and control it all of the time, instead of first accepting and making room for it inside of you, because it's already true. It is already there, and there's nothing wrong with it being there. That anxiety, that anger, even happiness aren't necessarily patterns or indicators that that right now is true. It could also just be a passing feeling. And when we decide not to grab onto those things and hold them so tightly and make a ton of meaning out of it, they often just disappear. So try it out. See if the piece of paper works. See if imagining your aunt on the couch works. See if your mind moving around this accepted object, literally creating space and growing like vines around it. If that maybe helps, allow it just to shut up. But again, the point of acceptance is to accept whatever is there and not with the proposed intention to then immediately change it. So accepting something with the impression that, okay, it's going to change and I know it's going to change, so I'm going to accept it right now so it changes is not acceptance. It's still control, or at least a failed attempt at control. So when you accept something, make sure that it is because you realize it is there. It's okay that it's there. It's uncomfortable. It's information. And yeah, you're not loving the fact that it's there, but it's okay. It's really going to be okay. A couple examples of this for sports performance. Had a basketball player I've been working with who on the free throw line in her last game from the free throw line missed 2 free throws and it was devastating. So in the next game, she noticed that voice in her head saying, you are going to miss, it's going to be super embarrassing, and bringing up all of those past mistakes. And she decided, I'm going to accept this right now. Yeah, of course, this voice is in my head. That's okay. I don't love it, but it's okay. I'm going to follow my routine and ritual that I do every single time before a free throw and let it rip. Working with a center back in football who had a nasty own goal and felt the shame, the panic in his body, and also felt the desperate need, like almost this habit, this reflex to completely avoid the ball for the rest of the match. Like, please don't give it up. Please do not give it to me. And instead, he accepted the fact that after this mistake, it felt terrible, but I don't want to overcompensate because I don't need to prove that I'm worth it or prove that I'm better than that. I can't make anything better right now. So I'm just going to continue instead of avoiding. I'm going to continue what I have been doing and purposefully just continued playing his version of footy. I have an athlete who right now is on the bench. He's not planned into the competitive team right now. And while sitting on the bench, he knows it's incredibly uncomfortable. It's not his expectation of himself. It's not his standard. He really wants to learn. He wants to be involved. And he wants to be able to show and prove what he's got because that is so much fun for him. And that's what he loves. Yet he's on the bench. And instead of getting really, really frustrated about that all the time, noticing that it's there, noticing that it feels like, and the story in his head is that his coach is telling him he's not good enough every single time that he has to go sit on the bench, realizing what is true and not true about that, and accepting the fact of, wow, I don't like being on the bench. This is not my preferred position. However, it is what it is right now. I will accept this and the decision, and I will still learn because that's important to me. So I'm going to be paying attention in training. I'm going to be training with everybody. I want as much information as possible. And this is my opportunity to really, really understand what's going on. And 2, from the bench, I'm going to be following everything. So should I be called in, I know what's going on. And 3, work so hard that the coach couldn't look away from him. That's acceptance and committed action. And we'll get to committed action because that's another part of the Hexaflex. We're going to continue on with this series in the next couple of weeks because I think these points are really important. And the more we know, and the more we know how to put it into practice, the better we can be, the better our minds can be, and the more purposeful we can be about optimizing not only our lives, but also our sports performance, because that's what we want at the end of the day.